Obviously, we play video games for the journey, but sometimes the ending's pretty important. The best kind of ending is the kind that absolutely melts your brain. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 of the most mind-blowing endings in video games. Just as a warning before we get going, this is a spoilerific video. We're literally talking about the twists of these games, so if you hear a game that you don't want to know the twist to, either skip it or shut it off, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Starting off with number 10, it's the Final Fantasy VII Remake. For most of the story, it remained a pretty faithful retelling of the Midgar portion of Final Fantasy VII. Sure, they expanded a few things, but otherwise it seemed like it was just going to be the same story with a modern coat of paint. However, there are some clues that things aren't exactly what they seem. Sephiroth making an appearance much earlier than he does in the real game is very interesting, but that's something you would expect from a remake like this. What's harder to understand, at least at first, is the appearance of these ghost creatures called Whispers. Now, they do drop a lot of clues, and all these little clues and changes come together in the conclusion where Cloud and friends battle and eventually defeat the Whispers, and it's revealed that these things are actually creatures generated on the planet to undo changes to the timeline. It's never explicitly stated, but it's heavily implied that the ending with Sephiroth, that one is the one from the original game and therefore original timeline that somehow gained the ability to travel through time, and he's trying to find a way to undo his defeat.
Cloud, lend me your strength. Let us defy destiny together.
That makes the Final Fantasy VII Remake kind of like Sephiroth's cosmic do-over, and by destroying the Whispers, you are inadvertently playing into his hands. Which also means next Final Fantasy VII Remake game, we know it's a trilogy now, the second in the trilogy can go in whatever direction it wants. Things are already changing too, because it looks like Zack, an important character from the original game who died before the original story started, is still alive. Or it could be a flashback from an alternate timeline, I don't know, but the ending of the Final Fantasy VII Remake was mind-blowing because it revealed the game was a remake in more ways than one. At number 9 is SOMA, probably one of the best horror games in recent memory. SOMA's a game with a ton of these big ideas about free will, consciousness, the nature of the self, and it's incredibly bleak and creepy. It all comes together so well in the game's shocking ending, too. There's almost too much going on in the game to fully explain what's going on, but the gist is that you play as Sim Jarrett, a guy who's been brain scanned in 2015, suddenly wakes up in an underwater research facility called Pathos 2 in the far future. The whole place is in disrepair. It's patrolled by grotesque machines that seem to think that they're human.
Why? I was okay. I was happy.
As you progress through the game, you learn that one of the major breakthroughs of the facility was that they could upload a complete human brain scan to a computer and allow humanity to live on in that machine. In a cataclysmic event that destroyed all of human life, save the Pathos 2 crew, they resolved to try to preserve their humanity as best they can by uploading their consciousness to a probe and launching it out into space. That's the main goal of the game. Uploading your consciousness to the probe, which contains a fully realized simulation, and escape from this leaky and ruined science facility. At the end, you finally succeed. You launch the probe after uploading your consciousness at the last minute, and you find that you're still stuck underwater. It wasn't you that was uploaded, it's just a copy.
Simon, I can't keep telling you how it works. You won't listen. You know why we're here. You were copied onto the Ark. You just didn't carry over. You lost the coin toss. We both did. Just like Simon at Omicron, just like the man who died in Toronto 100 years ago.
You're trapped underwater, and you're not going to escape. There's a post-credit scene that shows your uploaded consciousness inside the computer in a simulated environment. Looks peaceful, but the philosophical implications are pretty mind-blowing. Is the copy you, or something else entirely? And what is humanity anymore anyway if you're just brain scans in a probe in the depths of space, which will only eventually fail anyhow? I actually thought about this back in the day watching Star Trek. When they beam someone somewhere, they disassemble and reassemble all of your molecules. wouldn't that kill you? Like, wouldn't your consciousness end? That they turn on another reassembled version of you somewhere else, besides the fact that that brain is loaded with your memories, there's no guarantee that your consciousness would actually travel along with you. Perhaps it's an entirely new consciousness operating on all of the same memories and variables. I'm willing to bet that is something that influenced the devs on SOMA, and it'd be something I would love to talk to them about. There's so much to talk about in this game. At number 8 is Infamous 1. If you're looking for something a little less cerebral, but still very amusingly mind-blowing, you gotta look no further than the first Infamous game. You play as Cole McGrath, a dude in the wrong place at the wrong time who gains the power of electricity, and from there you just get to do whatever. You can be a hero, you can be a villain, but either way you face off against Kessler, the leader of a secret society of superpowered individuals. Like a lot of villains, this guy's constantly testing Cole and forcing him to make difficult decisions. It's a pretty common bad guy trope, and usually the intentions behind it are nebulous at best. Not so much here. At the very end of the game, you find out the totally crazy truth is that Kessler is a future version of Cole, who has gone back to the past to toughen himself up and get him ready for a much more dangerous threat. For most of the game, you think Kessler was being evil for evil's sake, but he's actually trying to train you so that you're capable of taking on this new threat. It's a pretty wild twist just to introduce, completely unmentioned, a new villain at the end of the game, but it's pretty much what Kessler does. And it puts it all into a new light. It's not brilliant or anything, it's honestly kind of ridiculous, but it's mind-blowing and it's fun. And number 7, Shadow of the Colossus. The entire game seems like it's building up to some kind of tragedy, doesn't it? Like, it's this melancholy, sad game. It kind of introduced to the world the wanderlust that would eventually influence Breath of the Wild and countless other games. But wow, the first time I played this game, I did not expect it to go quite as hard as they did. The story's simple. Your character, Wander, wants to bring someone they love back to life, which, kudos, I would too. A mysterious voice in the shrine that they bring that person to tells you to go and hunt Colossi, and killing them in some way will save her. So you go and do what the weird voice tells you, because it's not like you got any other options. It's a video game. It doesn't take long before you're kind of questioning what killing these creatures actually does, though. Many of them aren't even aggressive. They only attack you to defend themselves, and it really starts to feel like you're the bad guy in this situation, and the ending confirms it. After killing the final Colossus, you return to the shrine. You're rewarded by being possessed by the voice, who is actually an evil spirit called Dorman. For a little while, you control a Dorman-possessed Wander, who's become a giant black monster who attacks the soldiers who have come to contain you. The spirit's eventually sealed away by the priests, and while the girl you're trying to save seems to be alive, Wander has been transformed into a baby with horns, which reveals the game is actually a prequel to the game Ico. It's a weird and very surprising ending, especially for when the game actually came out. And number 6 is Spec Ops: The Line. Set in a sandstorm-ravaged Dubai, ruled by a treasonous U.S. Army battalion that defied orders to leave the city. You play as Captain Walker, a soldier sent to make contact with the damned 33rd and convince Colonel John Conrad to come home, but it all spirals out of control fast. This is another one of those games where you just know things are going to take a dark turn at the end. I mean, it takes multiple dark turns at various points in the story, but you really know the ending's not going to be happy the whole time. The atmosphere is dense and oppressive. Now, at the start, Walker's pretty generic, but as the situation gets worse in the city, he gets more vengeful and violent and does nastier things to survive and complete the mission. For the entire game, Conrad is taunting you and comes off like a villain.
I'm gonna kill every last one of your men, and then I'm gonna kill you.
But when you finally manage to get to his tower, you find it empty. He killed himself, directly after failing to evacuate the city. So basically the whole game, you've been hearing voices in your head justifying what you're doing. You see flashes of scenes where it seems like Conrad did something, but it was actually Walker who made the situation worse. At the end, you're left to decide if Walker has any redemption left or he should just die. It's pretty dark. It's already, a pretty dark game, but the ending it's dark. I'm not sure it really succeeds in skewering military FPS games like it sets out to do. It's kind of more of a psychological horror game than a military shooter, but it's got a mind-blowing ending. And number 5 is Xenoblade Chronicles. You'd think there would be more JRPGs on this list, but it's pretty rare for these games to save the twist for the ending. Most of the time you get the big twist around halfway or 2/3 way through the story, rather than at the very end. And Xenoblade Chronicles is already packed with crazy twists, honestly. It's a game where the world you live in is on a giant titan that died after battling another giant titan, so it's already starting somewhere weird and it only gets more nutty from there. By the end of the game, you're battling the god Zanza for control of the universe because why not? By JRPG standards, this is fairly normal. But after you defeat him, that's when the big twist is revealed. The world of Xenoblade is actually our world. The game reveals in a flashback that scientists on a space station managed to create some kind of world-altering device which, when activated, transformed the Earth we knew into the bizarre world of Xenoblade. This was never hinted at anywhere else. It's basically just a crazy twist for the sake of a crazy twist. And it's rare for these types of things to happen later in the game, but the series actually expanded on the twist and added a little more context. Not a ton, but a little. Something, at least. And number 4 is Inside, a game that starts you off knowing nothing and somehow ends with you knowing less. At the start, all you know is that you're a boy, seemingly, and you're going somewhere. Along the way, pretty much everything wants you dead, but for whatever reason, your character keeps moving forward anyways. I mean, yeah, you can just say it's a video game, so of course you're trying to make progress, but in terms of the story, whatever this kid's goal is has got to be important, right? As you get deeper and deeper into the science facility where most of the game takes place, you're probably expecting an answer, right? Like, I don't know, is he going in to rescue his family or something? So when you open up this giant containment unit and, I guess, combine with a giant blob of flesh, it's kind of shocking. From there, you go on a rampage of destruction before completely escaping the facility. You roll down a hill, you stop, and the game ends. Are you dead? Like, what the hell was that? But there's no real answer. The ending is Inside is impressive because it proves that even a game with very little story can have a mind-blowing narrative ending, as long as it's sufficiently insane. And number 3 is Bioshock Infinite. The story of Bioshock Infinite sure does go places, doesn't it? What starts off as a pretty simple rescue mission becomes so much more complicated by the end. The basic premise is you play as Booker DeWitt, a private eye who's been given the task of rescuing a girl named Elizabeth from the floating city of Columbia, a turn-of-the-century religious paradise, heavy scare quotes, ruled by the tyrannical Father Comstock. After rescuing Elizabeth, it becomes clear there's way more going on, though. This isn't just a fantastical city gone wrong, like the first Bioshock. It is an alternate universe. The big twist comes at the end after you kill Comstock. You go through a portal and arrive at the beginning of the first Bioshock game, and Elizabeth reveals there are countless lighthouses and countless universes. That'd be enough to earn this game a spot on this list, but we're just getting started. From there, you learn that Comstock is an alternate universe, Booker DeWitt, and that Elizabeth is actually Booker's child, who he sold off to Comstock before the story of the game really kicked off. A lot of what Booker does is sort of drowning out that memory, and he's forced to confront it during the course of the ending, which lands with a bizarre scene of alternate universe Elizabeth's drowning him / baptizing him as a way to stop the entire construction of Columbia and everything that would follow. Because that's eventually what Booker DeWitt apparently does. Like, it doesn't really make perfect sense, but you can't deny that the ending's pretty crazy. And number 2, Silent Hill 2. For a lot of people out there, the ending to Silent Hill 2 is the mind-blowing ending in video games. In 2001, horror games just did not have endings like this one. It was psychological and complex, but grounded in reality in a way few games are. Almost everyone knows the twist of Silent Hill 2 at this point, but if you don't, here's a quick refresher. You play as James, who gets a mysterious letter from his dead wife telling him to come back to the town they vacationed at once, Silent Hill. The entire game sees James wander around the time in an almost dreamlike stupor, experiencing strange visions, dealing with grotesque enemies, and it becomes clear that whatever happened to James' wife, Mary, he doesn't give the full story on it. When you reach the hotel room where they stayed, the truth is revealed. Mary didn't die from her unnamed illness. She was actually killed by James. He smothered her with a pillow. On the surface, this seems like a you were the bad guy the whole time type plot, but the actual story is much more complex. What James did was really more like an assisted suicide. Mary said she wanted to die and James helped her, but his lingering guilt surrounding the whole situation still haunts him. It's an unusually complex and mature situation for a video game story, and it's up to the player to interpret what the game's actually saying. It's an all-time great twist and adds a lot of depth to the story that people still pick over to this day. And finally, at number 1, if you rate how mind-blowing something is by the amount of times you should say WTF during it, then Metal Gear Solid 2 gets top marks. Metal Gear Solid 2 is already a little off compared to the more grounded first game, which is saying a lot, because the first game had psychic soldiers and giant shaman with a minigun. But to be fair, Metal Gear Solid 2 stays at least understandable for a lot of the big shell section. But the second you get on Arsenal gear, all bets are off. Raiden is naked for some reason, and the bad guys are reenacting the torture sequence from the first game. You escape, and now Colonel Campbell is spouting total nonsense at you over the codec, and everything looks like you're in a fake, weird video game environment. The entire climax of the game only kind of makes sense, and it's about free will, information control, and a meta-narrative of the entire nature of video game sequels. To make a long story short, Raiden battles the former president of the United States, who is also a Big Boss clone, on top of Liberty Hall in New York City because an AI told him he has to fight a last boss to finish the game. The whole thing is WTF incarnate. Metal Gear Solid 2 is a weird game, to put it mildly, and like Silent Hill 2, it's got one of the most important, mind-blowing endings of all time. MGS2 went on to be hugely influential, and even just on the specific idea of meta-narrative in gaming, but also you could say that it called a lot of stuff over the last 10 years of actual real-world information control. There is nothing quite as jarringly weird as the climax to Metal Gear Solid 2, making it the perfect one to wrap this list up with. What do you think? Leave us a comment, let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.